Hello my book loving friends, fancy seeing y'all here. Welcome or welcome back to yet another wrap up. Someone pinch me. How is it 2023 already? I'm still stuck in 2020. Hopefully you guys got in some good reading time this month and were able to meet your Goodreads goal. If not, it's okay. Remember, quality over quantity. In December, I read 7 books, bringing my book count for the year to a grand total of 92, which is 52 more books than I originally wanted to read this year. So not only did I double my end of the year goal, but I doubled it and then some. Again, as we all know by now, it doesn't really matter how many books you read in a month, a year, but you can still be proud of yourself. Self-love. I will be filming a separate end of the year wrap up to tie a nice neat bow on my reads for 2022, so look out for that. But as for the books I read in December goes, I read 1 3-star, 1 3.75 star, 3 4 stars, 1 4.25 star, and only 1 5-star read. But before we get into these books, I gotta show you all these. I want to quickly say a huge thank you to Rose Forever for sending me these beautiful roses. This is not sponsored, but they did want to send me this arrangement to share with you all, and to also give you guys a little coupon code to save some money, which was so sweet of them. Rose Forever is a startup business that sell these beautiful roses that last up to at least a year, and even longer if you properly care for them. So if you're looking for some flowers for your special someone this Valentine's season, these ones will not die in the first week. On their website, there's a huge selection of different arrangements you can choose between. I love how this one has a little drawer you can pull out. Cute. I love supporting small businesses when I can, so I wanted to share these with y'all and let you know that if you use the code Sara25, you can save $25 at checkout over the next 30 days. I'm gonna put these back on display. Starting with my 3-star read of the month, The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. This is a 200-page holiday romance whose purpose is to be this cheesy, wholesome little novella, but in my opinion, the execution was not there. For one, it was way too predictable for my liking. The plot was so painstakingly obvious to me that I felt personal offense for our main character that the author chose to make her that oblivious. Like, that was a choice you made, Chloe Leese. A choice that irritated me. But one thing that I did really enjoy about this book is that the author included a song at the beginning of each chapter for readers to listen to really immerse readers into that holiday spirit. That was probably the best thing about this book, which doesn't really reflect well on the writing per se. I sadly could not even participate in the holiday playlist read along though, because I read this during a power outage in cellular service. My parents' house has never heard of her. I took reading by candlelight to a whole far too real level. In this book, we follow Gabriella, a cheery, festive girl, and Jonathan, a Christmas-loathing man. And one evening, after learning that the bookstore that they both work at is in great danger of closing down, the two rivals strike up a deal where whoever makes the least amount of sales in December has to resign. And so the story unfolds. This book did give great holiday vibes, and I did enjoy the bookstore setting, but not enough for me to outright recommend you guys pick this up. Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter was my 3.75 this month. I want to give a huge content warning to anyone thinking about reading this book. Going into this, I knew it was dark, but I initially thought, how dark can this thriller really be? So when that first scene hit, I was a little taken aback. I was like, oh, I see what all the humbug was about. I should have expected that this book was going to go in that direction. All of that was probably the most thrilling, but it wasn't even thrilling. It was horrifying and disgusting, which one could argue that Karen Slaughter purposely used that to make commentary on the police force and how women's issues are ignored. But the rest of the thriller, especially when you compare it to the intensity of those certain scenes, was nothing super groundbreaking. This book was kind of weird. It was both fast-paced and slow. I kept reading because I wanted to figure out what was going to happen, but the journey just felt like it was being dragged on and on. In this thriller, we follow 2 estranged sisters who years earlier, older sister disappeared without a trace. And now in the present, another girl has gone missing, and Claire's, one of the sisters' husband, is brutally murdered, which leads aspects of the past, including all of the unanswered questions around the disappeared sister, to resurface. Some people absolutely love this book, and I get it, but I've read better. Moving on to my 4-star reads, Hostage by Claire McIntosh. This was my Christmas Day read, so while the rest of my family was glued to a Hallmark movie, I opted to read about hostages. No regrets here. In this book, we follow a plain hostage situation that ends up roping in a flight attendant, Mina, because she is given a note that says, "We have kidnapped your daughter, and if you do not crash this plane, we will kill her." So Mina must decide whether to save everyone on the plane, including herself, or the one person she loves most in the world. My favorite part of the book was the ending. It came out of nowhere. I loved it. When I closed the book, I was like, yes, queen, go queen. I had to reread the last few pages to make sure what happened actually did indeed happen. Like, the author didn't need to take that extra step, but she did, and all I can do is applaud her for it. You see, this book definitely left a lasting impression on me, whereas some other books, not so much. If the rest of the book made me feel the same way the ending did, this would have easily been a 5-star read. But if we just tore out those last few pages, this would have been just an average thriller. Don't be alarmed, but my next book was How to Kill Your Family, which I cannot remember the author of. I read this book on audio, and if you're interested in this book, I definitely recommend that that's the way you should go as well, because some parts were pretty long-winded and detailed when they really didn't need to be, which I could only imagine would be a bit tedious to physically read. But in an audio format, I didn't have a problem with it. It just went right in, went right out. I also really enjoyed the narrator's voice. She may have even had a British accent. I'm just saying. Like, no offense to voice actors out there, but some narrators just annoy me, especially when they inflict their voice to sound all high-pitched and nasally. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. You do not need to sound like a child. There's a reason you are an adult and not an adolescent. In this thriller, we follow Grace, who is currently in prison for a murder she didn't commit, writing about all the ones she did. Because let's just say she has a personal vendetta against some members of her extended family. So she decides that her life's purpose is to get revenge on these people that have ruined her life in a serial killer-esque manner. Yeah, Grace definitely had some issues, and a strong grudge that would probably not compel the average human being to exhibit such psychotic behavior, but it was really interesting reading about all the ways in which Grace planned out and then committed her crimes, and I was definitely intrigued the whole time. When I was telling my family I was reading this book, I thought they were going to be slightly concerned for my well-being, but no, they weren't surprised at all. They were like, yep, that's our daughter and her obscure thrillers. Heartstopper by Alice Osman. This was such a fast read. I was out here thinking it would take 1.5 to 2 hours to read. No, it took me less than 45 minutes. And it was cute. For me, not the most memorable, but if I had read this when I was 13, 14, I would have ate this up. I can definitely see great potential in the future books in the series as we read and form deeper connections to the characters. To give you guys a quick rundown, this is the first graphic novel in the Heartstopper series, and we follow Charlie and Nick's blossoming friendship, which eventually develops into something a bit more. I loved the variety in like art style / writing style Alice Osman used to tell her story. I was expecting like a straightforward comic style of writing, but instead the story flows in more of an unpredictable manner. I'm trying to like give you guys an example. This is kind of what I'm talking about. See, the story doesn't follow like a typical comic style format. I hope you guys know what I mean. This is something that you kind of have to experience yourself to understand what I'm trying to get at. My 4.25 of the month was Winter in Paradise, another great book by Ellen Hilderbrand that was beautifully crafted. I love how Ellen is able to form these characters that readers get emotionally attached to. And even some aspects of the characters I didn't particularly like, but I still loved them for who they were and how Ellen so realistically portrayed them. There is a love triangle side storyline, which I know some people don't like, but I personally didn't mind this one, especially because each time the POV switched between the two men, I kept changing who I wanted the girl to end up with. So I didn't really have a strong preference to either of them, but that little side storyline definitely did add some more flavor to the novel and brought a whole other engaging level of drama to the story. I love fictional drama, what can I say? Also, this novel has successfully made the Caribbean a bucket list destination. I had never really wanted to go snorkeling before reading this book, but now I must do it before I die. I wanted to crawl into the story and explore the coral reefs with the characters. Man, such great vibes. We follow the Steele family after the wife Irene gets a phone call telling her that her husband has been killed in a plane crash on St. John. And at first Irene is like, excuse me? What? You're telling me that my husband owns $1 million villa on St. John? Are you sure you got the right person? And he had a girlfriend there? Huh? But as Irene and her 2 adult sons come to the island, they must come to terms with that their father / Irene's husband has had a whole separate life. There's a quote in this book that perfectly encapsulates the premise. Let me read it to you. Love is messy, complicated, and unfair. I really enjoyed how this book not only showed the different facets of love, but also of loss, deception, and betrayal. This is the first book in a 3-book series, and it gave readers just enough answers to their questions, while also leaving other things open-ended in order to pull readers back in and get them to pick up the the next book, which I certainly will be doing in January. I already miss Irene and her 2 complicated sons. My only 5-star of the month, which if you watched my last wrap up then will come as no surprise, Kiss the Sky by Kristen Becker-Ritchie. I am missing my copy here today due to it being at my apartment. Such an easy 5-star read. Whenever I pick up an addicted book, I think to myself, oh, this is gonna be a good read, but then the books still blow me away even more and throw in another aspect that I wasn't even expecting in the slightest. I don't want to give too much away in case you haven't read the previous novels in the series, but in Kiss the Sky we follow Connor and Rose's relationship as they are part of a reality TV show. That's all I'm gonna tell you because I want you guys to get the full experience. The witty banter between Connor and Rose was perfection. That is how all banner should be. I'm telling y'all, 2023 is the year to pick up the Addicted series if you have not already done so. Time for my classic book stack. Here are not all of the books I read this month. One was an audiobook and the other I don't have with me. But here are some of the books I read this month. Not the best reading month, but not every month eats. I want to start 2023 out with a bang, so I have a good feeling about my reading for this upcoming month. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to see what I get into this month. There are so many books I want to read and not enough time in the world to read them. It makes me a little stressed. Hi. My camera might have just died. So we're finishing this video off on the phone. Let me know your favorite book you read this month down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really does help me, my channel out a lot. I hope you all are having a fantastic day and I will see you in my next video. Bye.